Take a slow breath, get comfortable, and let your mind travel back to a time before alarm clocks, coffee machines, and weekends. Tonight, we're stepping into the lives of some of the hardest working people in history. Not kings sitting on golden thrones, not famous generals riding into battle, not wealthy merchants counting piles of silver. We're talking about the ordinary people, the people who woke up long before sunrise, the people whose hands were always sore, whose backs were always tired, and whose work kept entire kingdoms alive. If you ever felt exhausted after a long day at work, history has a way of making modern life look just a little bit easier. Imagine opening your eyes while the world is still dark. There is no glowing phone beside your bed, no gentle alarm playing relaxing music, no promise that you'll get to hit the snooze button. Instead, a rooster somewhere outside has decided that everyone should be awake, whether they agree or not. Your bed isn't soft. Maybe it's a sack stuffed with straw. Maybe it's a wooden bench with a rough blanket. If you're lucky, there's a small fire still giving off a little warmth. If not, the room is cold enough that getting out from under the blanket feels like one of life's greatest challenges. And yet, there isn't much choice. Work is waiting. For most people in history, work wasn't something you did for 8 hours before heading home. Work was life. Almost every hour of every day depended on it. If you didn't work, you didn't eat. If your family didn't work together, everyone suffered. And if bad weather, illness, or simple bad luck interrupted your work, the consequences could last for months. That sounds stressful, because it absolutely was. History books often spend their pages talking about emperors, queens, and famous battles. We hear about castles being built, giant ships crossing oceans, and incredible monuments that still stand today. But here's something interesting. None of those things happened because one powerful ruler waved a hand. Every palace brick was lifted by someone. Every road was dug by someone. Every field was planted by someone. Every sword was forged by someone. Every loaf of bread was baked by someone who probably woke up before everyone else. Most of those people never had their names written down. They weren't famous. No portraits were painted of them. No statues were built in their honor. Yet without them, history would have looked completely different. Think about the Great Pyramids. It's easy to admire them today and wonder how ancient people built something so enormous. The answer is surprisingly simple. One stone at a time, by thousands of workers, day after day, year after year. It wasn't magic. It was hard work. The same story appears almost everywhere you look. Ancient Rome was filled with roads because workers laid each stone by hand. Medieval castles reached toward the sky because laborers carried heavy blocks up wooden scaffolding. Ships crossed dangerous oceans because sailors climbed freezing masts in the middle of storms. Cities stayed alive because bakers, blacksmiths, water carriers, servants, and countless others kept everything moving without much attention or praise. It's almost funny when you think about it. History remembers the king who lived in the castle. It rarely remembers the person who cleaned the castle after everyone left the banquet. If walls could talk, they'd probably have a lot more to say about the servants than the nobles. As we travel through this story, we'll meet many of these forgotten workers. Some lived in tiny farming villages. Others spent their days underground in dark mines. Some worked beside roaring fires that never seemed to cool. Others walked hundreds of miles carrying important messages across mountains, forests, and muddy roads. Each job had its own challenges. Some were dangerous. Some were painfully boring. Some were both at the same time, which is quite an achievement. We'll see what their mornings looked like, what they ate, how they worked, what they worried about, and what kept them going when every muscle in their body begged them to stop. One thing you'll notice is that time moved differently. Today, we often measure our days by clocks. 9 o'clock, lunch at noon. 5 o'clock means it's time to go home. For most people in history, nature was the clock. The rising sun meant work began. The setting sun meant work finally slowed down. Rain changed everything. Snow changed everything. The seasons controlled nearly every part of life. There was very little room for arguing with nature. You couldn't send an email asking the weather to move the harvest to next Tuesday. If the grain was ready today, you harvested today. Simple as that. Another thing that may surprise you is how much physical strength everyday life required. Even the smallest tasks could become difficult. Need water? You carried it. Need firewood? You chopped it. Need flour? Someone had to grind it. Need bread? Someone spent hours making it. Need clean clothes? Well, prepare for an entire day of washing, scrubbing, lifting, and drying. Modern machines quietly do hundreds of jobs every single day without us noticing. For thousands of years, human muscles were the machines, and muscles get tired, very tired. Still, life wasn't only about endless work. People laughed. Children played games. Neighbors helped one another. Families shared meals after long days. Songs echoed across fields during harvest. Stories were told beside warm fires after sunset. Even in difficult times, people found small moments of happiness. That's something history reminds us again and again. People have always been remarkably good at finding light, even during the hardest days. Over the next chapters, we'll follow workers from many different places and times. Some lived in ancient Egypt. Some walked through medieval Europe. Others sailed across rough seas or hammered glowing iron inside noisy workshops. Their world were different. Their languages were different. Their clothes looked different. But they all shared one thing. Tomorrow would begin before sunrise. So, as the sky slowly begins to brighten over our first village, the rooster is already calling once again. A farmer is rubbing sleepy eyes. A baker is lighting the oven. A blacksmith is preparing the forge. Somewhere deep underground, miners are gathering their tools. Across a quiet harbor, sailors are checking ropes before the morning wind arrives. The busiest day of their lives is about to begin, and we're going with them. So pull your blanket just a little closer, settle in, and let's start where almost every hard-working day in history truly began. Long before the sun climbed above the horizon, the village is still asleep, or at least it looks that way. The sky is almost black, with only the faintest hint of blue beginning to appear along the eastern horizon. The stars are slowly fading, and a cool mist hangs over the fields. Everything feels quiet. Well, almost everything. A rooster has already decided that silence is highly overrated. Its loud crow echoes across the village, followed by another from somewhere farther away. Before long, the sound bounces from farm to farm until it seems every rooster in the countryside has joined an unofficial morning choir. No one asked them to. No one can stop them either. Inside a small wooden cottage, a farmer opens tired eyes. There is no clock hanging on the wall. There doesn't need to be. After years of living this way, the body simply knows when it's time to wake. The room is simple. The walls are made of rough timber or packed earth. The roof is thatched with straw. Smoke from last night's fire still lingers in the air, giving everything a faint smell of wood and ash. The bed isn't what we would call comfortable. It's little more than a wooden frame filled with straw, covered by rough wool blankets. During winter, the blankets help a little, but cold air still finds its way through every crack in the walls. Getting out of bed takes determination, not because the farmer is lazy. Quite the opposite. The body already remembers yesterday's work. The shoulders ache. The legs feel heavy. The hands are stiff from gripping tools hour after hour. Every morning begins with the same conversation between the body and the mind. The body says, maybe just 5 more minutes. The mind answers, the cows are waiting. The cows always win. Quietly, the farmer dresses in simple clothes made from coarse wool or linen. Nothing fancy. These clothes are built to survive mud, rain, and endless hard work, not fashion shows. In fact, if someone invented designer farming clothes in the Middle Ages, they probably wouldn't stay clean long enough for anyone to notice. Stepping outside, the cold air wakes you up much faster than any modern cup of coffee. The farm is already coming to life. A cow lets out a low moo. Chickens shuffle inside their coop. A horse stamps its feet against the ground. Somewhere, a dog stretches before beginning another day of guarding the property. Before breakfast comes the animals. Always the animals. They depend entirely on the farmer. The chickens need feeding. The pigs are making plenty of noise to remind everyone they are hungry. The sheep need checking. The cow needs milking before the morning grows too warm. The farmer carries heavy buckets across the yard. each step sinking slightly into the damp earth. Water has to be brought from a nearby well or stream, and every bucket feels heavier than the last. No faucets, no garden hoses, just strong arms and steady balance. Water is one of those things modern people rarely think about. Turn a tap, and there it is. In history, every drop had to be carried by someone. Quite often, that someone was already tired before breakfast. Milking a cow takes patience. The farmer settles onto a small stool and begins squeezing milk into a wooden bucket. The cow seems calm enough today. That's good, because cows occasionally have their own opinions about being milked, and those opinions sometimes involve kicking the bucket over. After finishing with one cow, there might be another, then perhaps goats. Each animal needs care every single day. They don't understand holidays. They certainly don't recognize weekends. When the animals are finally fed, watered, and checked, the farmer can think about breakfast. Breakfast is usually simple, very simple. Perhaps a piece of coarse bread baked a few days earlier. Maybe some porridge made from oats or barley. If the family is fortunate, there could be cheese, onions, or a little butter. Fresh fruit depends on the season. Meat is uncommon for ordinary families. That might surprise many people today. The average medieval farmer didn't enjoy giant breakfasts filled with bacon, eggs, pancakes, and fresh juice every morning. Instead, meals focused on filling empty stomachs with whatever was available. The goal wasn't variety. The goal was enough energy to survive another long day. The meal doesn't last long. There simply isn't time. Outside, the fields are waiting. The tools are waiting too. The farmer picks up a wooden hoe, perhaps a shovel, maybe a sickle depending on the season. These tools are sturdy, but they are far from perfect. Every task takes longer than it would with modern equipment. Now comes the walk. Many farmers didn't step outside their cottage and immediately arrive at their fields. Some plots were quite a distance away. So before the real work even begins, there's already a long walk through damp grass and narrow dirt paths. The morning mist clings to boots. Birds begin singing as daylight spreads across the countryside. The rising sun paints the fields with soft golden light. It's beautiful. The farmer probably notices it, but only for a moment. There is too much work to do. During spring, seeds must be planted. Every row is carefully measured by experience rather than rulers. Each handful of seed represents hope for the coming months. Too few seeds, and the harvest will be poor. Too many, and the plants compete with one another. Generations of farming have taught these lessons without the need for textbooks. Summer brings weeding, and there is always weeding. It seems weeds have been winning arguments with farmers since the beginning of agriculture. Every unwanted plant steals water and nutrients from crops. So hour after hour, bend over beneath the growing sun. The farmer pulls weeds by hand. It's slow work. It is repetitive work. It is backbreaking work. Autumn arrives with the busiest season of all, harvest. Every family member who is old enough to help heads into the fields. Grain must be cut quickly with sickles. Bundles are tied together. Sheaves are stacked. Wagons are loaded. Everything depends on finishing before heavy rain or early frost arrives. There is no backup plan if the harvest fails. No supermarket. No delivery truck. No emergency shipment arriving next week. A failed harvest can mean hunger through the entire winter. That knowledge sits quietly in the back of every farmer's mind, even during good years. Whether it's the greatest boss any farmer has ever worked for, and it can be a difficult boss. One week brings warm sunshine. The next brings hail. Too much rain floods the fields. Too little rain leaves cracked earth beneath tired feet. No amount of hard work can control the sky. That uncertainty is one of the hardest parts of farming. You can do everything right and still lose much of your crop. Yet tomorrow morning, you wake up and try again, because that's what farmers have always done. By late morning, sweat replaces the cool air of dawn. The farmer's hands are already dirty. Mud sticks to boots. The muscles in the shoulders begin their familiar ache. And somehow, the day has barely begun. The sun continues climbing higher into the sky. There are still countless rows to tend, fences to repair, tools to sharpen, and animals to check before evening comes. The hardest part? This isn't an unusually busy day. This is simply an ordinary morning in the life of one of history's most overworked people. And by sunset, there will still be more to do tomorrow